In this video, I'm making a chair from 2 oak 1x4's. I want to explain more why and how I designed this chair, but that's a whole other video. I started with cutting all the pieces to rough length. I adjusted my miter saw blade to 2 degrees and cut the front and back rails and the backrest to the finished lengths, sneaking up on the cut. I then cut one end of the side rail to the right 16-degree angle and traced the rest of the shape with a pencil. I also could have glued the paper template on the wood for even more accurate lines, but decided not to. I cut the side rail shape on the bandsaw. I was being careful not to cut on the line, but instead right next to it. I left the other end long to trim it later. I clamped the side rails together and used my Orbital sander to sand the curves smooth. This is an easy way to make sure the pieces are identical. I then taped them together and cut them to their finished length on the miter saw. I did the exact same process for the curved back leg design. By the way, I will be selling plans for this chair if you are interested. I will leave a link in the description of this video. If you are new to my channel, awesome! My name is Minni. I hope you like what you see and subscribe to see my future projects. But anyway, let's get back to the build. Next I cut the front legs to their right width with a table saw. I then taped them together and cut them to final length. At this point I had all the parts cut except for the chair seat. I removed the tape and sanded all the parts, and then chamfered the corners with a hand plane. After I had all the pieces sanded, I started marking where I needed to drill holes for the through dowel joints. I used tape for a couple reasons. It keeps the wood clean of any pencil markings and also glue squeeze out during the glue up later on in the project. Next I drilled holes through all the parts. The great thing about through dowel joints is that you don't necessarily need a drill press to drill the holes. A regular battery-powered hand drill works just as well because the holes don't need to be exactly perpendicular to the surface. This is because with through dowel joints I can clamp each joint together on the worktop and use the holes I drilled as a drill guide to drill to the other piece. I was really happy how well this worked and how easy it was. I didn't need any special jigs for this step. I just made sure I marked both parts so that I could glue each joint together right. For the joints where the side rails connect to the front and back rails, I used a block to help me clamp the pieces together for drilling. After drilling the holes, I cut the dowels to length on the bandsaw and chamfered the ends to help with the glue up. I did the glue up in a couple stages. First I glued all the dowels in place to the other side of the joint. Then I glued the back legs to the backrest and back rail. I hammered the parts together and used my Japanese saw to cut the excess dowels away. I then clamped the parts together tightly. I did the same for the front legs and the front rail. Then I glued the whole frame together. I used these angled blocks and tape to help me with the clamping. After the glue had dried, I removed all the tape. I used a chisel to remove the dry glue squeeze out from the inside corners. Then I did a final sanding to sand the joints flush. Now I had the frame complete and I could start with the seat. The oak 1x4's I used had a slight chamfer on the edge, so I used a table saw to remove that so that I could have a nice straight edge for the glue up. I aligned the pieces the way I liked and marked them. I used plastic wrapped boards to help with the alignment. After the glue had dried, I used my Orbital sander to sand the glue squeeze out away. I then marked the sides of the seat and used a bandsaw to carefully cut the edge. After cutting it, I finished it with some sanding. For attaching the seat, I used these little L brackets, which allow the seat to expand and contract with humidity. I just marked their placement, pre-drilled holes and screwed them in place. For the finish I used Osmo top oil in the color white oak. I wanted something that wouldn't darken the wood or make it yellow. What I like about it is that it's a very natural and durable matte finish. After letting it dry, the chair was finished. I really like the way this chair turned out. Designing it was a long process, but the end result was worth it. For me, the chair looks balanced and timeless, like I wanted it to. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Check out my Instagram if you want to see what I'm working on next. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!